Okay, recording my computer screen with my phone camera. Now I'm really a boomer. Anyway, so this is the mural that Calliope paints. Hopefully, by the time you watch this video, you've gotten to this point. So, where do I start? Let's start with just the main focus. Obviously, the first thing you see is the bright red spiral, right, leading up here. And we've got this, which is obviously Vriska, right? I mean, that's how she's been I don't know what the word is. That's like kind of a it looks a bit like Navi from Ocarina of Time, but like that's Vriska. Like her visual language is that. And we know from just a few pages before, from this one. Yeah. This one, well, shit, really the one before it, that her escape is really like visualized by this big red sash she has, that wraps up all the kids and takes them with her, right? The red fire, the red sash, the red of her remaining eye. She's very much like visualized with red, right? And we know that what she wants to do, fuck, that's not what I wanted. I wanted the log. What she wants to do is take the kids and let them play the game, right? I think it's that one. Shit. Oops. Take the kids and let them play the game. And so obviously we've got this. If we look at actually I should have gone back. So this is the very next page. And this is Vriska obviously escaping the black hole because she has become one with the singularity of it, right? Escaping the black hole and getting to this planet, which I'm actually going to skip over these few frames to this. This is the opposite view of it, right? From the meat universe, escaping to this planet right here. Because, that's her, right? That's her portal. And obviously that's that's detritus, or whatever the fuck it's called, Dirk's planet. And then this is Rose's planet, because they were... And also this says to be continued again. Just in like Five Nights at Freddy's kind of image compression. To be continued again. Anyway, so log, and we've got the red and Vriska, which obviously, and the planet, right, which we just saw. She's leaving the candy universe, which is represented by these purple tendrils, I'm pretty sure. She's leaving the candy universe to go to Rose's planet, which seems to be the one that succeeds, unlike Dirk's, because he can't get his head out of his ass. So then we've got the blue spiral, right? Which there's multiple blue spirals. Well, I think just two. I think this goes behind and ends up back there and wraps up together. But the blue spiral is has the wispies, John's wispies in it, and the glasses, John's glasses. So obviously the blue is John, who right before this, in the end of Act 1, was arguing how much he wanted to hold on. Yeah, well, that settles it. We have to kill Dirk. John, who very much wants to get back in the game because he feels like that's going to be how he moves on with his life. This is, as soon as I saw this, I was like, that's Roxy. Like, that's Roxy. Obviously chasing after John here, right? Who is chasing after Vriska. This, I think, is Karkat. I don't know why Karkat's there, touching. But in this scene, Calliope is talking to Karkat. So, yeah, is talking to Karkat. So it would make sense that this is Karkat really tiny touching this world. Because I assume everything that Dirk is saying, even though Dirk is saying it like an asshole, everything that Dirk has been wanting to do makes sense. If they just break the cycle, all life will stop, right? The reproductive cycle of the universe will end, and there will be no more life. So, like, they should continue it, even though the game was fucked up for them, that doesn't mean it can't be, especially if they have former players to try to help make the game not as fucked up. Their game was so fucked up because the trolls fucked it up. Anyway, next section. Next thing I saw, I'm gonna ignore this for now. Next thing I saw was over here is Harry Anderson, obviously with the little scarf, and Roxy's little hair thing and the coat. And then over here is obviously Yiffy. So I think on all four walls of the room, Calliope has painted all four of the kids who are going to be our next session of the game. These kids, Vrissy, Tavros, Harry Anderson, and Yiffy. Anyway, yeah, the hairpiece, the scarf, obviously, and the jacket, and then, the ear, and just the general vibe for Yiffy over there in the corner, right? Yiffy, Harry Anderson. And I think on the other side of the room is Vrissy and Tavros. So then we get to the figure 8 over here, right? I'm not really sure what the purple things are. I think they are potential branches of, I think that's Dirk's ship. I don't know, actually, because it seems like if we're looking at this from the perspective of the candy universe, and that's the meat universe out there, I don't know what this is that's orange. Usually orange is Dirk. So, usually orange is Dirk, but orange here is Vriska. Anyway, I think it's Dirk's ship. I think these are potential branches of the splitting I think this is going to be showing us splitting paths. This is going to be John and Roxy chasing after John, and probably Calliope, not meat version, but candy Calliope, leaving as well to chase after Vriska to get to Earthsea. No, to get to Rose's planet, in the meat universe. I think on this side is the other branch where we're going to be following 3 separate groups. The 3 groups that we kind of have been following. This is obviously Rose, and we know that it's Candy Rose because there's the bullet wound where she was supposed to have killed herself. And then it didn't work. And so obviously there's going to be some kind of reconciliation, or at least chat, with Kanaya, where Kanaya realizes that Rose was doing all of this self-destructive shit because she figured, what's the point? Why not just make Jade happy, and keep it a secret from her wife, because she knows she's gonna die anyway, and they can live with it and deal with it without her. And, deal with her problems for her. And then she didn't die because Vriska showed up, so now she has to deal with her own problems. So her thing was that she stopped being able to use her light powers, right? Because all of her light powers now belong to Rosebot, I'm pretty sure is what they were saying. And she doesn't have light powers anymore, her seer powers. So, like, I don't know why. Maybe she unlocks her seer abilities again. Who knows? And then we've got in the middle here, in this really tangled up branch, I think that is Jane, and that's Jake. And obviously they're going to have some kind of situation because Jake did try to assassinate Jane, and she then beat him almost to death, and then he destroyed her entire fleet right before she got her head cut off. So they're gonna have some kind of chat going on here, right? But because all of this is curled up here, I don't think they're going to be leaving. This feels like it doesn't go anywhere, right? But they're in one circle, and this is in a different circle. And I think these circles are the two universes of meat and candy. And that's why Vriska's Hell Tier has the infinity symbol in her eye, not just because it's an 8, but in her infinity powers now, not just because it's an 8, but because she's the bridge between these two universes, because she's the only one that doesn't have a copy, right? She's the only one that didn't get split at the end of the game into two halves, because she never finished the game. She was just stuck until, she was saved by John. Meat John, I think. Yeah, Meat John saved her. And now Candy John is gonna follow her. Anyway, so this one, right? This one is obviously Jade and Dave ending up killing, when Dave, killed himself to leave the Candy universe to go to the Meat universe to join Dirk and Rosebot as Davebot, right? We've seen Davebot and Aradia and Ultimate Calliope talking in the past, right? I don't know where they are now. It was weird that they aren't on the ship here with them. I don't know what ship they're on. I don't know what ship these guys are on, and I don't know if they're not on Dirk's ship, Davebot and Aradia and Calliope. So, like, and Jade, dead Jade. So, like, what the fuck? I don't know where they are. Anyway, so this is group 2, which is Jade, and, well, she's the only living one. Jade and Dave's soul, right? And this has this is Jade's, signature color, right? So I think that this little spark, right, is our last little hint on what's going to be leaving Earth. I think this is dead Dirk leaving, killing himself in the Candy universe to leave and become Ultimate Dirk in the Meat universe. Sorry. Anyway, so I think this is our last little hint, because it's over here with it's over here with Yiffy. Fuck, I can't get anybody's names right. Okay, so obviously Jade was fucked up at the end of Act 1 because, Yiffy, shit. Yiffy obviously was like, fuck you, and Jade didn't want her kids to leave, right? Jade didn't want her kid being a part of the game. That was the whole fight between Dave and Jade and Carcat and everybody. Not Dave, John and Jade and Carcat and everybody. Anyway, so, because Yiffy has now left to join the game, that is going to, and Dave is dead, and we know that Dave left, well, John made the connection that Dave left and became Davebot, right, to leave and join the Meat universe and join Dirk and Rosebot and Terezi in continuing the game. So I think Jade is going to have some kind of That's Jade. This is Jade's small motivation to probably at the end of the next act leave to, you know, find everybody else that left. I think it's how I think it's gonna go is I think we're going in order of like perspective and how far away it is from the candy universe, I think is how we're going about the next act. So we're starting here in the addendum with Calliope and Karkat from the Meat universe talking, right? And then the next above that is what we see in the next panel of Vriska, Hell Tier Vriska, bringing the kids to the planet to play the game. And then the next biggest thing is the blue swirl, which is John. And the next biggest thing connected to that is Roxy. So I think it's going to go in that order of it's going to start with John and Roxy. John leaving and Roxy following him. And then we're going to get to what's going on over here with this stuff, which I think it's going to start here and then move to Jane and Jake, and then be Jade finally putting the pieces together and making the decision to leave. I think because of how they've set Jade up, Jade and potentially even Rose are going to be the major villains of I think Jade, at least this next part, because Jade doesn't want anything. She is completely antithetical to the plot at this point, right? Get my hand in there. She is completely antithetical to the plot at this point. She doesn't want the kids to play the game. She doesn't want her kids specifically to play the game. And she doesn't want anything to do with this. So obviously, if she is going to go to whatever Rose named her planet, it's going to be because she's pissed off and she's ready to break heads and kill people, right? So I think the first act's villain was genocidal dictator Jane, and then I think the next act's villain will be Jade. And I think it's either going to be in this act or after this act that she becomes the next villain. And then I don't know after that, because this kind of just seems like it's just a teaser of the plot for the next arc of the story, which will probably just be Act 2. Anyway, I just thought this was so cool, and I loved diving into it and figuring out all the different little pieces. And obviously there was that June teaser a while back. John, Be Past John. This one. I think. Yeah. Where there's June standing there, obviously, and then Vriska, right? Vriska's mouth. Because he was standing right next to the singularity when it exploded. So I figured that's what, yeah, shell-shocked Rose. Anyway, thanks, fag. Perfect way to end it. Thanks, fag.